You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
ABC Mondays. The Bachelor is back, and everyone is falling for America's heartthrob, Joey Graziadei.
Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10.
He's taking another shot at love.
I am definitely ready to find my wife.
But will he find his perfect match?
I am freaking out.
I'm about to lose it.
There's something I need to know.
I'm done here.
I thought it would be easier.
The Bachelor. New Mondays, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by the new true crime docuseries American Nightmare, only on Netflix. In 2015, the Vallejo, California Police Department received a strange phone call about a kidnapping. But when the truth is stranger than fiction, you won't know who to trust or what is real. A fast-paced true crime thriller with cliffhangers at every turn. Watch American Nightmare now, only on Netflix.
Skip the waiting room. TireRack.com offers convenient mobile tire installation in many areas. Simply shop TireRack.com for your next set of tires, and at checkout, choose Tire Rack Mobile Tire Installation. An expertly trained technician will arrive with your tires and install them on-site. At home, at the office, wherever you are. You'll spend less time waiting and more time doing the things you enjoy. Learn more at TireRack.com.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? I hope all is good in your neck of the woods. I'm really excited to get this episode started for you. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Steve's a great guy, and we had a great conversation. But I do have just a few little tidbits of house cleaning I want to get to before we jump right in. So, first off, last week I asked for a couple reviews, and you guys slid in there and made that happen. So, big thank you to the folks. We're now sitting at 103 reviews on iTunes, and that just tickles me pink. So a big thank you is in order for everyone who did that. And if you haven't yet, more iTunes reviews certainly does not hurt. So if you feel like doing that, wonderful. And just one last thing before we get into the show today. If you are subscribed to the Tone Mob newsletter, then you already know about this. But I want to tell you about something that our friends, the Effects Loop podcast, that is, are doing for the month of September, which is almost over. They are putting on a raffle to benefit the Autism Self-Advocacy Network. We've got prizes up for grabs from Big Ear Pedals, Gun Street Wiring Shop, 1981 Inventions, Yellow Cake Pedals, G7th Capos, String Joy, Westminster Effects, Rare Buzz Effects, and Like My Pedals. So it's just another one of those really cool things that the people in the gear community have put together and are doing to help other people, and I think that's just fantastic. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can go to go.rallyup.com/autismrocks. That's go.rallyup.com/autismrocks, and the link for that will be in the show notes as well. So yeah, that's all I have for today, and we'll just go ahead and get right into this episode with Steve. All right, bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Steve Demedash from Demedash Effects. How's it going, man?
Hi. Good.
Normally, I ask how to pronounce things before, and I was going to do that with you, but I forgot, and I just figured, you know what? I'm fairly confident in this, so I'm just going to
go. Wait, how did you say it? I didn't catch it.
I said Demedash. Is that right?
You got it.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, only like a third of people get that right the first time. It's hard to tell based on how it's written.
I felt pretty good about it, and the fact that I'd heard it said a bunch of times from other people. So there's that.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough.
Well, you know, I'm obsessed with pedals, so of course I'd heard it a time or two.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I've ever been in a video where I've said it, so it's just good luck that, you know, people have said it right enough times that people know how it's said.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I get Wayland a lot. I'm like, Blake Wayland. Like, there's no A there, but hey, you know.
Oh wait, how do you say it?
Wyland.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's close enough to Wayland, and you know, I'm a Wayland fan, so that feels fine. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
So tell me about yourself, Steve. Like, what's your musical backstory? How did you get to making pedals and VHS based pedals at that. Like how did that happen?
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a series of kind of coincidences, I guess, or happy accidents. I started, I'm an electrical engineer. But from an artistic family. So I went into engineering, just kind of like, I want to learn how amps work.
Okay.
And, kind of needed an education. So that seemed like a good way to go, kill two birds with one stone. So I did that. And when I was in university, I was kind of recording myself. I've got a big backlog of songs I've written. And my friend lent me these really nice microphones. So I started recording over the summer a bunch of these songs that I'd written, just, kind of for my own thing. I'd never really gotten out there and tried to advertise my own music, but, it was kind of a fun thing to do for myself. And I kind of wanted a bunch of different, guitar sounds, and I couldn't afford amps at the time, or a bunch of different, vintage amps, being a student. So I started building myself, pedals that kind of sounded like amps, amp in a box style, for many layouts that were out there from, just on the internet. And realized I really liked doing that. So I kind of got distracted from the whole recording aspect and started doing that more. And, I kind of did that on and off for a few years, selling just on Kijiji, which is basically like a Canadian Craigslist. And, selling things for, pretty cheap, like under $100 when I was done with something. And then last year, okay, so yeah, I graduated, started working, as an electrical engineer, software engineer. And then last year, I was like, well, kind of started getting back into, music and wanted to buy some more, gear. So I was like, well, maybe build some more pedals, just sell them just to make a bit of side cash, just to make, dumb purchases.
Yeah. Totally.
And so I did that, and I had sold something on Reverb recently before like selling things on the internet kind of seemed sketchy. But after that, I was like, oh, that was totally fine experience, whatever. Yeah, sure. So I started doing that with the pedals I was making. And, around the same time, I was getting a tire changed. My tire had blown. And I was just waiting in the car shop for them to, put it on a new tire. And I was kind of bored going through, and I had an Instagram that I hadn't used in like 2 years. So I started, uploading pictures to it of, some of the builds I had been doing. And, switched it over to, I started calling myself Demedash Effects. I figured I'd need a name. And, just used my last name because I couldn't think of anything that wasn't a really bad pun. As a business name.
What was one of the, what was one of those early pun ideas? What was it?
Acetone, but I would pronounce it acetone.
Just,
okay. Terrible stuff. So yeah, I tried not to let my sense of humor get in the way of things, but, I lucked out with that one. Just being able to use a unique last name, which, it is my legitimate last name. So that worked out.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, I mean, just kind of did that, and you just kind of started blowing up, pretty steadily. I was just doing like, modified clones or whatever. Like, I'm an engineer, but at this point, nobody knows who I am. So I'm not going to be able to market any original designs because nobody wants something, some crazy fuzz circuit that some no name with no credentials has, kind of dreamed up. So, it's just kind of whatever, just, slightly modified clones. And when I was in university, I ran the humor, magazine for the Department of Engineering, kind of the engineering student humor magazine. And I picked up a lot of graphic design stuff and programs that way. And, I'm from an artistic family. My parents work at the theater center here in Manitoba. So, I've kind of got the eye for it. And so that was kind of like another thing. Once I figured out how to use like water slide decals and apply those, I was able to, create artwork for these things. So that became kind of the fun thing to do, was just putting new artwork on each new pedal. And, from that, my Instagram, started getting kind of interesting. And so I'm doing that for a while. And then, I had the idea for the VHS one. So I did that, and the graphic came before the idea for the sound. Like, the graphic inspired the sound. I was like, oh, that would look really cool. How do I make it sound like that? Like it looks. And so I kind of did that. And it sort of started off as a modified Keeley Mag Echo, I think it was.
Okay.
And, just kind of evolved from there. So it was like kind of that for like the first, 1 or 2. and then I started adding stuff and subtracting stuff and kind of just morphing it into this own thing, trying to get that real garbled sound rather than just echo.
Yes.
And and like I still do that to this day. Like I probably revise my circuits every 40 boards, every 40 units. Make a little change. Yeah. I generally don't announce it because it's it's just little small stuff that it's not like an added control or anything. I don't really want to add any controls because I really like how it looks, so I don't want to like mess up the graphic. But yeah, little things. Like the most recent one is a wet dry blend, so now you can mix it fully wet, like on all of them. So yeah, little things like that.
Gotcha. That's interesting that you said it started life as a Keeley Meg Echo, because you think about the history of Keeley and how inspirational and how many companies have shot off of Keeley, and like how important Keeley has been, the man and the company, to this industry. And it's
interesting. He started off as a modder and an engineer, so it's
I was going to say, I'm seeing a connection here. Is where I was going with that. Yeah, he started exactly the same, modding and with an electronics engineering background. So that's kind of a interesting parallel, I guess I would say.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's not the kind of thing like I don't announce that and put it out there on my site because I don't want to use the Keeley name because I feel like he wouldn't want that. But yeah, it's not like I'm trying to hide
what it is anymore.
The origin. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hide the origins or anything, but yeah, I don't really advertise it either.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So did you have Keeley products? Like what did you start? You started building pedals. You kind of laid that out, but when did you get into effects? Like, did you start building before you got into the pedal game, or were you a collector? How did that happen?
I mean, I had a few like cheapies. Basically, like I said, I got into it when I was a student, so I had like a tube screamer. I had I think like a Boss Octave one. Nothing crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, just a couple of cheapies. I can't even remember. I think I've traded them all away at this point. So, and I'm looking at my pedal beside me. I'm like, no, none of these. These are all crazy.
What's on it now?
It's kind of a mess right now. I haven't played in a little while. Actually, I still got my it's a Boss Bass Parametric EQ. So they don't make it anymore. I got it from a guy who was selling a bass that I got for my brother for his birthday. And he had this pedal that was made in the 90s and super cool. So like, I don't know, held onto that. That was kind of cool. Got Petty John Gold, one of the 1981 drives, Cali 76, one of the Dr. Scientist bit quests. Got my 2, the 112 Plus, and the T120. Got a T-Rex replicator, Strymon Deco, Eventide H9, Konzar, Halophase. What else is there? Oh, 6 Degrees FX 11. Yeah. I've got a bunch scattered around as well, but
yeah,
that seems to be what's there right now.
Nice. That's definitely a big upgrade from a couple cheapies and a Voss pedal or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't buy pedals much. I don't buy pedals as much anymore. But when I do, my wallet feels it.
Yeah, but you get good ones, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of whatever. Like the Space Echo I bought recently.
Excuse me.
Yeah, like legit. Yeah, I got a Space Echo. Tell
me more,
and
please.
I picked up. Oh, it sounds great. I mean, I haven't had as much time to play with it as I'd like, but yeah, I know. I think I'd like to replace the tape on it. It sounds a little bit old, but I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, got that, and I got a Magnatone, like late 50s, early 60s Magnatone with a pitch vibrato, which was great. Like it was really beat up when I got it, so I had to do a lot of repair on it. But I really like doing that kind of thing, so I was happy to do it. But I got it for about a third of the price I would have paid for a fully pristine one. So I like it. I like it a lot.
I kind of like. I have a thing for beat up old gear. Like I was looking at the Fender Super 6, I think is what it's called. Those big, huge, tall 6-speaker combo amps. I don't know.
Oh geez.
Yeah, they're completely ridiculous. I don't know why they were ever made. honestly, but they look really cool. And I've seen some really clean ones, but I think they just look way cooler with like a little bit of hole in the grill and like a little bit of Tolex peeling away. Like they've seen some action.
Yeah, definitely. And the Magnetone looks like it, and I don't know if I want to fix that part of it up.
Yeah.
I refurbished the insides really nicely, but yeah, I don't know about the outside. I kind of like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Can you?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know about the old Magnetone stuff. Can you explain what makes it so cool?
Okay, so vibrato is kind of a weird word when you're talking about amps because Leo Fender decided to make it really confusing for everybody.
Yes.
So like on the Fender amps, you have vibrato, and really it's tremolo. It's a pitch, not a pitch, it's an amplitude variation. So it's like it's going louder and quieter, louder and quieter. And if you're not really listening closely, that can sound like pitch variation, but it's not. And then there was a really short time for Fender amps where they had a brown face, which was harmonic tremolo, which really does kind of sound like pitch vibrato because it's alternating between a high pass and a low pass filter. So you're going like high, low, high, low. Pitch isn't changing, just the amount, like the frequency content is.
Right.
It's alternating. But these Magnetones are, they're the only amps out there from that era that had a way to get the pitch to actually vary. And they did it by using these things called varistors, which are used for surge protection. So, a really high voltage comes in and the resistance increases, which, in surge protection, that's good because, not as much current can get through. But the way they're used in this is like you've got an LFO that, it's making just a waveform. I believe it's triangular or sinusoidal. And it's going up and down. And that's kind of fed to these things and making them vary resistance up and down, up and down. And so you've got two phase inverted versions of the signal, one from the plate and one from the cathode of the tube. And it's basically varying which one is being sent to the output, alternating back and forth. And that's kind of similar to, with using an echo line, like an analog vibrato, you're shifting back and forth, like how much time it takes for the stuff to get through the echo line. So, you've got your samples coming in, and as they come out, you stretch them apart and push them together, and you get this Doppler effect. Further apart, it makes the pitch go down. Closer together, it makes the pitch go up. And so the kind of analog here is on the Magnetone. Instead of doing that, it's just kind of moving where the peak of the waveform is. They're 180 degrees out of phase. So while you're alternating from one to the other, it's almost like you're moving it back and forth, and that almost kind of sounds like you're stretching and compressing the waveform, which gives you the kind of psychological interpretation that it is varying in pitch. And without a diagram, whatever I just said is probably really confusing. But
I think I understand it actually, which is really very shocking. Okay. I think I'm with you.
Okay, good. Yeah, hopefully that kind of made some sense. But that's sort of my understanding of it, at least. Somebody else could probably give you a more thorough explanation, tell you why I'm completely wrong. But no, after like looking at the schematic and really analyzing it and reading a bit about it, that's kind of my understanding of it.
This is fun to talk to somebody who kind of knows down to the nuts and bolts layer, because a lot of people they kind of start as players and modders without the background. Do you feel like having that engineering background has been very helpful, or do you think like it's a little bit of like, I've heard some people think like, oh yeah, but you can't think creatively, and I'm like, well, I don't think that's necessarily true. What's your take on it?
Oh yeah. Okay, well, yeah, they can't think creatively. That's kind of dumb. I mean, yeah, like engineers in typical, they're not the most creative people, but like I said, I'm from a more artistic background, so I was more of like, the odd man out in engineering, where I'm the creative guy who got an engineering education. So, if somebody's an engineer through and through, maybe that's sort of part of their personality, but having that kind of education doesn't make you not creative. It just kind of gives you a better understanding of what's going on. That's all it is. So I definitely think it helped me, but maybe not as much as most people would think it would. I mean, modern engineering is more about digital signal processing and, digital control systems and stuff. Most of like musical effect technology is based on stuff from the 50s through the 90s. So, that's not really taught in school anymore. it definitely gave me like a fundamental kind of understanding of, semiconductor theory and the kind of the physics of it. And that allowed me to kind of apply it as I was learning more and kind of get a deeper understanding. But a lot of the learning I did on my own, out of my own curiosity, after the fact, once I started getting more into effects. So yeah, it's a mix of both for sure, but it helped give me the fundamentals for sure.
That's interesting that I didn't even think about that. That the same stuff that like, for instance, Keeley went to school for is not the same stuff that it was. Maybe even the same classes would have completely different material because things have changed so much.
Oh yeah, there was like 2 pages in one of my textbooks about vacuum tubes. That's the most exposure we got to it in school. Like, it's old technology, kept alive probably purely for audiophile stuff and guitar amps.
So what is your take on that? Do you think that it is possible to recreate some of that, the quote unquote tube goodness that we've come to love with modern technology?
I mean, probably, but why? It's fun to have tubes.
That's a good point.
Feeling is half of it. If you like the feeling of playing through tubes and the knowledge that you're playing through tube amp, then it's doing its job. Yeah. It doesn't need, it doesn't need to be replicated. I mean, it's great that it can be, and that serves its purpose for some people, but personally, like, I know it doesn't matter, but I really do like playing through tube amp just because I know I'm playing through tube amp. It just kind of, the knowledge makes it more enjoyable, and it's totally psychological.
It's kind of like having a different colored guitar, and it's like, yeah, I like the white one better, and therefore I'm going to play better and think that it's better just because.
Oh, it's absolutely. White. And I've built like a bunch of amps for myself. I say a bunch of, like, okay, I built like 3 amps for myself, and fixed up a bunch of other ones. And, I use, nice, high quality, like, expensive parts in them, knowing that cheaper ones would be fine in the circumstances I'm using them. But, it's like, I like the idea of using the, nice stuff. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's my money. I'm doing what I want with it. I'm the one that's going to be playing it. And I feel like, people are totally welcome to do that. It's kind of when you get people who, like, extol the virtue of Mojo parts to others that maybe, that person wouldn't care otherwise, but they think they're actually going to get a tonal difference out of it that really matters. That's when it kind of gets, not as friendly, and, that's more of a gray area, I'd say.
Yeah, and you would have a lot of insight to some of that stuff too, I imagine. My theory, without being a builder or engineer or anything, my theory has always been with certain things like resistors is always the one I go to. As long as the resistor is resisting the amount that it's supposed to resist, what's it going to really do for you? Like, making sure it's carbon comp. That's what I've always thought. Is that an accurate way to think, or what's your take on it? Basically,
all components are context dependent. So yes, like in a pedal, yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, correct. In an amp, there's some variation. Like, carbon comp resistors can definitely be noisier. So having them in signal path isn't always great, especially in like a high gain amp. I read some, thing, somebody had done some research on this, and I can neither quote where I heard this. So this is basically hearsay for, all intents and purposes. But I do recall reading an article where somebody had done some analyses, like frequency analysis and transient analysis of it, and found the only place where a carbon comp resistor actually does add some harmonic sweetness to the sound is as a plate load resistor. So, I kind of make a point of doing that in the amps I build. It's like, yeah, it's kind of neat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Was there any theories as to why, or can you remember?
It's because I believe the higher voltage being applied across it. There's a very high voltage being applied across it, on the order of a few hundred volts. And it's varying a lot, as your signal goes through, that voltage level varies. So, there's, with a high voltage level and the big variation, it's maybe there's a bit of inductance in there, that kind of, frequency selective response is what you're getting out of it.
Okay.
I believe that's the case.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Huh. But I mean, it wasn't much, it's just a little bit. But again, they look super cool. And so,
yes, they do. Yes, they do.
yeah. So if that matters to you, then it matters.
I've come to realize how many things in my life. When I was a teenager and when I was younger, I pretended that like looks and appearance didn't matter to me that much. Kind of like most dudes, like, oh yeah, what do I care? Like it's just a whatever, you know. Like I don't care.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I'm so cool. Why would I care? And I come to realize as I've gotten older, like they matter a lot, and they matter to almost everyone, regardless of if they think they do or not. Which is kind of a strange juxtaposition. In fact, the guys that say they don't care, in fact, do care, or people who say they don't care, generally do care the most. Not all the time, but that's what I've found.
Well, I mean, the whole ethos of apathy is cool, though. So, yeah, I mean, it's a mask, but you know, everybody cares about something,
That's
unless
true.
they like, you know, have psychological issues, in which case, you know.
That's a whole nother can of worms, and it's in
exactly. But I mean, you know, your standard person, like, you know, they care, and you'd rather have, you know, pretty things around you, at least, you know, following your definition of pretty.
Yes.
You know, be that kind of like gothic and black, or, you know, bright and fluffy, or somewhere in between. You know, you want to surround yourself with things that you enjoy the aesthetic of.
Which reminds me, I had a flashback after we were emailing to get this on the books, and I just remembered this today, but we actually did meet at NAMM, and I don't know if you remember or knew that you were talking to me.
I don't recall knowing I was meeting you.
We were at the String Joy shop. I believe you were there, and we were talking. We were talking about somebody's PCBs, and you looked me dead in the eye and told me I was wrong. Then I remembered. Oh yeah, we have talked before.
Oh, what did you say? What were you wrong about?
I was wrong. Let me see. Without throwing anybody,
I'm just interested if I was joking, because like that's definitely my style of humor.
You totally were joking. I'm giving you a hard time right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
I mean, if you're wrong, then I'm not apologizing either, though.
Oh well, I probably was kind of wrong, but okay. I'm always wrong. I'm wrong all the
time.
How
dare you?
I know what a terrible person. I'm just gonna shut this down. We'll come back to this later.
You know, as long as you admit it, that's the first step.
I don't even know what to do anymore. There's so many hours of me talking on the internet, probably saying wrong things. I just assume that most of my opinions are incorrect. That's just the best way for me to operate anymore. That way, when somebody calls me out on it, I'm like, yeah, well, you're right. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
That's actually a good way to let it roll off you. Good.
Yeah. But no, we were debating the merits of the attractiveness of this. Well, for the audience, this is how nerdy it gets at NAMM. This is how big of dorks we are. We were debating the attractiveness of somebody's circuit board layout. That is how.
Was it Electro Foods?
Maybe.
Okay. No, it is. Matt and I, we go back and forth about this. We joke about it a lot. Like, I think they like give me nausea the way he does them, and I'm not hesitant to tell him that. But we joke about it, like it's all, you know, it's all in good fun. I was down in Philadelphia the weekend before last, and I finally got to meet him in person. And so when I first met him, he walked up to me and I shook his hand. I was like, "I hate your work." Everybody was listening though, so everybody was just laughing. I was like, "Oh shit."
Hi Matt, I hate your work. Thank you nice to meet you.
Yeah, but no, it was all in good fun. So
yeah, it is all in good fun. I remember, like, it all kind of came back to me. The reason I remembered is because their PCB, like a layout they did, like popped up in my Instagram. I'm like, oh yeah, I did talk to Steve briefly, and he told me I was wrong, because I said like that those layouts are not how, like, well, I'm not like I do layouts, you know what I mean? That's not how I envision a layout being, but I can kind of understand why somebody would find it attractive. And you just looked at me and said, "You're wrong." And I went, "Okay."
Oh yeah, no, nobody finds that attractive. Nobody.
I do. My nobody. Come on. I thought it was kind of cool in a punk rock sort of way, you know, like a bad tattoo is kind of good sometimes, or a pump cheese nacho is kind of good sometimes.
Nope.
No, none of that. You're not going to give me any of it.
I mean, I mean, people think that, but they're all wrong.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
Yeah.
I see how it is. Well, I'll figure out what kind of guy you are by the time we get to the end of this podcast, and we'll see if your opinions hold any water. I know what I got to ask you. We're just not there yet. We're not there yet in the conversation.
No, I'm okay with that.
So switching gears a little bit. So if that gives you nausea, whose circuit boards absolutely do not give you nausea? Whose do you really like?
I really like and respect John Snyder from Electronic Audio Experiments.
What's that guy know about anything?
Oh, well, I mean,
I'm totally kidding.
Do you know him?
Yes, yeah, he's been on the show.
Like,
we're
okay,
homies.
he's doing a PhD in electrical engineering and is a BSc in physics. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but like I said, what's he know about it?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah.
No, John's amazing.
Yeah, total casual.
So you like John?
Yeah. Trying to think right now. I mean, there are plenty out there. The Moog boards are crazy from their like little mini Fuggers. And
I've never
the
seen
Mooger Fuggers, I'm sure. They're intensely packed. I mean, I don't know if I'd want them to be mine to be as packed as that, but they're intense. Oh, okay. Another, like, I'm thinking like surface mount stuff in gridding right now, but going in a different direction. Ken from 6 Degrees FX has probably the most beautiful internals I've ever seen, ever.
Absolutely. 100%. They're so good.
Yeah. They're works of art. It's like they just also happen to function as pedals.
Yeah. I have one of his R3 anniversary editions, and the first thing I did, because I knew, I was like, I'm not even plugging this in yet. We're opening this bad boy up, taking a look.
Oh, absolutely.
And he was
100%,
like, he was like, hey, I'm sorry, this one's not as clean. And I'm like, it's not. Okay. I literally don't know what he's talking about. I'm like, it looks perfect as far as I can tell. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, he is it together. So his definition of not clean is probably
standard
way
for everyone else.
Yeah.
So I need to ask you, like, what's up with Canada? Why is Canada like building all of the cool stuff right now? Like, you got you up there, you got Millimetric.
We're all having fun right now.
Oh man, you guys are killing it. So killing it with the guitars and pedals especially. It's just
we're just having fun with our stuff right now.
Are you guys as tight knit as I mean, I know Canada's a big country, but it seems like there's a couple guys in Montreal. I don't know where Manitoba is in respect to that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I'm not good
Manitoba,
with my geography.
The literal center of Canada is just like maybe a couple kilometers outside of Winnipeg. So we're right in the middle.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So do you guys get to
really
meet
nothing
up
on the other side?
Oh, nothing? Just wasteland?
Oh, yeah. No. Vast swaths of nothing. But I mean, that's most of Canada. Like, there's a few really densely populated regions, but they're quite disparate. They're not close together.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, I met Scott from Montreal Assembly at NAM. Nope. Yes, NAM. And let's see, other Canadians. I'm sure I met another Canadian there, but no, I can't think of any.
You met a Oregonian via Canada, probably. Solid Gold had a board there, but Alex is from Portland, so that's not exactly the same thing.
Same case as me and you. I think if we met, I don't recall, us acknowledging who each other were or anything. So yeah, we might have spoken, but I don't think I met him.
Yeah. This is such a weird industry, because like you said, you met people at NAM, and it's like I didn't meet like Jack DeVille. He's local to me, very close. We know each other pretty well now, but the first time I met him was in Anaheim. He lives like 15 miles from my house. So it's
beautiful.
Like, it's one of those things.
It's hilarious. Yeah. Travel to a different state to meet somebody who's just like your neighbor.
Yep, happens all the time.
Yeah,
especially.
But I mean, I'm going to Montreal for Sonor in, I guess it's next month, and so I'll be meeting quite a few more of them. Like Seb from Ground Control, it's going to be there for sure.
You got to
And,
say hi to Florian for me while you're there. He helps
will.
put that together, right?
Yeah. I believe he's in charge of it. I could be wrong with it though.
That'd be Florian from Millimetric Instruments for all the
Yes,
listeners.
that's correct. It's correct. I'm terrible with names, so
He's been on a couple times, and I have one of his guitars, and they're brilliant. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I've heard he's got quite the waiting list these days.
yeah, I got really lucky and found him fairly early, and the exchange rate was extremely favorable, so it was like a no-brainer not to. And it's actually the first baritone that he made. So
That's awesome.
Pretty special. I think his work is, it's so nice. His fretwork is like so beautiful. I could just look at it.
I was really impressed when I first came across him because, like, you think guitars have been around forever. There's no like new aesthetic, but he really has an aesthetic. Like you can tell one of his guitars right away.
Yeah, and I get it. Like they're not for everybody. Like it's definitely polarizing to a lot of people, and he knows it. But for me, especially the single cut, slightly offset, I always get his numbers mixed up. They're all numbers, and I can't remember which one's which. But it's just
like all his models are numbers.
Yeah, there's like MG. I don't remember. I'm gonna butcher it, and he's gonna be so mad at me because I know he listens. But
I know how he feels. I'm the same way. All my pedals are numbers.
I can't hardly remember birthdays. Numbers are not my thing. But if it was called like the Dragon Slayer, I would super remember that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this the other day. How long have you been doing pedals like as your main source of income or your main thing? How long has that been the case?
Since the beginning of March this year.
Okay, so pretty recently then.
Yeah. I put in my notice at my full-time job at the beginning of February, and they're like, all right, can we keep you until beginning of March so we can get somebody else trained? And so I was in charge of a pretty big project, so kind of had a lot to explain and prepare. So yeah.
Gotcha. Did you feel pretty good about that, or was that a little bit nerve-wracking, or how was that process for you?
Well, I mean, it had been in the back of my head for a few months at that point. At that time, my waiting list was at 200, and I would do a batch of 10, and I was doing this all on my like nights and stuff, doing a batch of 10 every 2 weeks, and like by the time I had finished that, the waiting list was back at 200. It's like, well, this is just unsustainable. So I don't know. I kind of started thinking it's starting to look like really dumb not to jump on this opportunity, especially since I enjoy this way more.
Right.
Yeah. So, it was nerve-wracking for sure. Like it always will be to make a big life change like that. But, I was fairly confident in it too. So, yeah.
And I've always been kind of interested in the entrepreneurship side of things and paying attention to that stuff. And so like for me, it was always, I felt like once I got into it, that was probably going to be the natural endpoint, was me leaving my job I was at. And it was never as scary as I anticipated. I mean, obviously there's some level of nerves with anything that you do, but I expected to be like terrified to quit my job because I'd worked for somebody else forever. That's all I ever planned on doing. That's all I knew I was going to do when I like set out as a career. And
yeah, for sure.
So to like just not throw it away because I could always go back to it, but to just kind of be like, well, never mind, and just go off into the wilderness. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. That's been my experience with it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, every day you're still the same person. You still, you're still there with yourself, and unless you have a lot of like anxiety about it, it's pretty easy to live one day to the next and just kind of see it through as it goes.
Do you have any input or maybe some suggestions for somebody who's trying to also make that leap?
Well, I mean, if they're ready to make that leap, they're probably in a pretty good place already. If they're trying to work their way up to it, that's different though.
It's definitely different.
Like, I mean, if they're already at the point where they're thinking about making that leap, I'd just tell them to look at it and see if it seems reasonable. Like at the rate I was going, I like making pedals. I had about enough work for another 6 months if nobody signed up on my waiting list after that. And I figured, that's reasonable. That's a good time, to kind of test the waters and see if it works out or not. And I mean, with my education and background and, job, it wouldn't look terrible on a resume to have this as, a thing on my resume. So,
That's true. That's
no
true.
harm done.
That is true. So
it's a bit tougher if it's not your, background or education or job.
Right, that's true. I don't know. What I'm doing now, I'm not sure if it looks really bad on my resume or like really good because it's a hard right turn. So I'm not even sure if I think I might be one of those guys with 2 resumes because there's such wildly different, paths of work. It's like they're almost it's strange to even consider them the same thing. They're so different. But
yeah,
it kind of So I don't know where I'm going with that line of thought, but
kind of jack of all trades. So, if you're going to tailor your resume, there's lots of stuff you've got lots of stuff to pick from.
Yeah. It's a wide ranging background. And when I look at it on paper, it doesn't really make any sense, but hey, I suppose that's life.
That is life indeed.
So I was curious about something. So like in all of this, pedal building thing, I'm pretty sure you've had the same experiences that I have, but I'm wondering, was it surprising to you how kind of open and inviting this community was? Or was it what you expected, or what are your thoughts on that?
I can't recall being surprised by it, but it was definitely nice to, I was never at any point. I don't think I expected it to be as Sorry, I'm just kind of talking while I'm trying to think here. I guess I was a bit surprised, yeah, a little bit, but at the same time, I didn't expect everybody to be super competitive and secretive with each other. But it didn't shock me, but it has been nice. At the same time, like everybody's very almost community minded. Everybody along the same level, and yeah, really friendly, really sharing. We don't think of ourselves as competitors because, why?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like you are, but at the same time, not really. This is definitely one of those rising tide raises all ships type of situation, at least as far as I can tell. And
I mean, there was always room for one more good one. Like, yeah.
Oh, I like that you put that caveat on there. Good.
Yeah. Well, if somebody like comes out of the woodwork with something really popular and everybody's kind of like, thinks they're doing something kind of original and unique, everybody pays attention. It's not like, oh no, not one more to compete against.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, the good stuff, everyone gets excited about the good stuff. Like I don't think Joel came on the pedal scene and everyone was like, "Oh great, another one of those."
Yeah. No, definitely not. It's kind of a situation is like I didn't expect to get popular. I expected my thing to be like making a bit of money on the side, in addition to my full-time job and not get notorious at all. But, I was kind of most surprised by how quickly, I got name recognition. And that was interesting to me. And I feel like, I have no background in business. I have no idea about marketing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stumbling through this like completely blind and just like making happy mistakes that turn out to be successful. And it's kind of like, all right. So I've kind of learned to trust my gut on a lot of things. And yeah, like I said, no idea what I'm doing, but my gut is usually right. So yeah, who knows?
Well, you know what? Outside looking in, it looks like you know what you're doing. So keep going with that gut. That seems to work.
Yeah. I mean, like, I always have an idea of what I should do. So in that case, I do know what I'm doing, but I mean, I have no credentials in terms of like, yes, I have studied and learned and mentored so that I do know what I'm doing. It's like, no, for some reason, I just make the correct choices. And I don't get it, but I've learned to trust it. So who knows?
Hey, I will. It's something I say on a fairly regular basis. I will 100% take luck over skill anytime. Give me luck all the time. I'll take it. It's
Yeah.
it served me better than any skill that I've ever learned. Just being in the right place at the right time. It seems has been better for my life than actually learning things. Not that you shouldn't actually learn things. I'm not saying that at all.
And I mean, I really do like learning things on top of things. Like, I don't know, I try to learn everything, do everything myself. Like I do all my own graphics and artwork and everything. So all the graphic design associated with my company, except for my friend helped me with my logo design, Gabe Searles. He's awesome. But I do all that actual like artwork myself. So pedal graphics and everything, and I do the PCB layout and the circuit design myself, and I assemble it myself. So I have a lot of creative control, and so I think that helps me kind of push things in the directions I want to go and nudge them if I feel like another direction might be better, and I kind of want to just slowly get there. Yeah. This is just me trying to justify things after the fact as to why things work.
Is there any point I hear this a lot with business owners of various sorts? It's that one of the hardest things to do, especially for somebody like yourself, is to let go of some of those responsibilities. I don't, you may not be to that point yet, but I know a lot of people, they get to a point where it's like, I cannot do all of this anymore. Like I don't have
100%.
capacity.
Yeah, no, I'm totally at that point and past it and kind of putting off, taking the next step a little bit. But so what I've been doing is moving towards surface mount component designs, just using surface mount components and doing that all by hand. Like I use tweezers to like place the components myself.
You're crazy like Ryan from Dr. Scientist.
Yes, exactly. I've got a little like retrofitted toaster oven with a PID controller on it that, works as a surface mount oven. So do that. And yeah, I mean, I do that. But the idea is that once like I've gotten a design I'm happy with like 100% and don't feel like I'll want to make a change, in a month, I can order like 200 of them to be automatically assembled. Because, surface mount components can be assembled by machines with far more accuracy and, accuracy, there's another word for it, but reliability than I can do, like by hand. So I'll just do that. So basically, I'm preparing things to go in that direction, like I'm saying, nudging them slowly, so that when I'm ready to take that leap, everything is in place.
I feel like and I think this is the tide starting to turn on that, but the whole through hole versus SMT stuff has been a debate for a while, and it seems
only because
like
people are idiots.
I was going to say, it seems like the tide is starting to turn, though. I think people are finally starting to understand that, like, in many ways, not in every case, but in many ways, some of the SMT stuff is A, better, and B, like, results in like a lower noise, better quality product. In not every case, but in many cases.
Well, yeah, I mean, less wire. There's shorter traces and less wire. It's way lower noise, especially for high gain stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's literally no reason to avoid it. It's welcome to the 80s, guys. This is very old technology at this point. Everything you've ever heard sound come out of has been made using surface mount components. Like if you're 30 or under, we're way past the point where, we grew up with radios with through-hole components. So saying, you don't like how it sounds, like that is absolutely idiotic. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Like, yeah.
I mean, keeping in mind that some of the people who are saying that are listening on their iPhone. So,
well, exactly. It's like, no, at this point, like you don't listen to anything through something with through-hole components, So I don't know. If your like pedal is the only thing with through-hole components, like if your pedal has through-hole components only, it is the outlier in your life as an audio device. Like, I don't know.
Your pedal's the weird one, is what we're
saying.
Yeah,
and I mean, like all the Mojo stuff I was saying before, I don't really buy into that for pedals as much. I mean, there's some cases where I do, but by and large, like in amplifiers, I don't know. I feel like at a higher power, like context starts being more important in component tolerances and how components behave, like at really high voltages and stuff. So I mean, at a low voltage thing like pedals, it's like whatever, guys, whatever. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You heard it
Yeah.
here first. Actually, probably not first. Surely it's not the first time you heard that.
And I mean, I'm not the like end all be all authority on this, and I might change my opinion, even a year from now. But right here, right now, like it's by and large a lot of things that people are afraid of, like surface mount. No, it doesn't matter, like literally at all.
I always say just use the right things in the right places. Doesn't matter what they are. That's the end of the story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I think the components used matter a whole lot less than the skill of the person designing the layout. Good layouts can be done with anything, and through hole design can be superior, like by far, to a surface mount design, because the person designing surface mount design might be terrible at it. So there is that factor in there too.
So this is something I like to. You mentioned about layouts, and I remember like one of the craziest aha moments I had was years ago when I was listening to the original version of the Chasing Tone podcast before this other guy came on and ruined it. That's me. I don't know if you listen or not, but that's me. Is the other guy.
I was trying not to audibly laugh at you. Sorry.
Right. And when Brian was like, "Oh yeah, layout will change how it sounds," because in my head I was just like, "Oh, does this just the schematic matters? Like the way the electricity travels to different components. It's like that's what matters. Like you can throw it on a board." Is what I had in my head for some reason.
Yeah, I mean that's like kind of like the first layer of looking at circuits and understanding them at that level is fine. But then you kind of get into other factors like along with a like an electric wave comes a magnetic wave. So you have a lot of like electromagnetic stuff, especially in guitar amps. Like laying out a guitar amp is way harder than laying out a pedal, for example, because you've got like the power transformer in there that's just shooting off really like big electromagnetic waves that can very much interfere with your preamp circuitry. So yeah, there's a lot to consider, but in low voltage things like pedals, there's much less to consider. But yeah, layout can definitely change how things sound.
I learned something not every time I record an episode, but almost every time, and I knew that it existed, obviously, but I never gave 1 ounce of thought to the impact that the electromagnetics might have on an amp circuit. I've never entered my brain before, ever.
Oh yeah, like your power transformer is always going to be mounted at 90 degrees to your output transformer, so that the waves go kind of like in opposite directions and don't couple to each other. Yeah,
I knew that they did that, but I had no idea there was an actual reason for it. Jeez, this is awesome. My brain is just exploding right now.
Yeah. I mean, if they're facing the same direction, they'll kind of like couple onto each other. And I say each other, but I mean the power transformer is way more powerful, so it's more like it's coupling onto the output transformer, and you get some hum.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and that's why like your power transformers are like the other side of the amp than your input, always.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is all starting to make a lot more sense now.
Yeah. And I mean, like all the careful like attention to shielding, if you got shielded wire in your amp, it'll all be probably before the first preamp, tube, and maybe a bit after. But after that point, the signal is big enough that a little bit of coupled radiation isn't gonna be huge in proportion to the actual signal itself.
You're talking about the additional noise that would be introduced, right?
Yeah, any hum.
Gotcha.
It's when the signal's really small that you have to avoid coupling that hum onto it, because then it'll get amplified in addition, along with the signal, and they'll grow together. But as long as you can keep it out for the first 1 or 2 stages, the signal is then big enough that it's kind of negligible.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So in regards to pedal boards, this might be a silly question, and probably is, But is there anything outside of, using a good power supply and good cables to consider when trying to eliminate hum, or at least reduce it as much as possible in your chain?
I mean, there are lots of like funny ways you can come across issues, but there's nothing like, on a generic, non case by case basis. No. Ground loops can be an issue if you got a kind of non standard setup. Sometimes wall circuits are really noisy, which is really weird when it happens because you might not realize what's going on. But, if you've got a really noisy board somewhere, like maybe you move into a new apartment and you're plugging in, it's like, why is this so noisy? Try a different wall circuit, like a different outlet, because some are just noisier than others.
And some have other things on the circuit that are causing it to be noisy that you can't get rid of, too.
That's pretty much what I think it is, but,
One time, and I've told this story before, but it was quite a while ago, and I don't remember if it was on this podcast, but a friend of mine has a really nice studio here in town, and it was a freshly built studio. Everything was great, but he had this really strange noise that, and he spent a lot of time and money and research to try to make sure that this wouldn't happen, and he couldn't figure out what it was. It turns out it was his electric dog fence that goes around his property was introducing noise somehow through all of the filtering and everything that he did. Somehow he was still getting noise from his electric dog fence into the studio, which is not something, I mean, it's almost entirely separate. Like the studio is on its own panel and everything, but somehow I guess that had an impact.
It's insane. Like you never know everything. You'll never be able to figure out everything. Sometimes those problems are just basically black magic.
And that is true in life as much as it is in electronics as well. I feel like you don't have to. We're never going to figure it all out.
Oh yeah, and you don't always have to know the final answer. It's like, oh, well, that was the issue. How do we get rid of it?
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
need to know.
Yeah, it's like I don't care why. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do care why. Sometimes I don't. Let's just make it go away.
And sometimes you don't want to care why, but you know that it's best if you find it out so you can avoid it in the future.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that a lot with debugging like prototypes and stuff. It's like, I better figure out why this is happening. So, next time it happens, I know what's going on.
Right. Or just don't do it.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may
be.
Exactly.
It's way easier to just like, oh, let's throw away this board and try another one. But no, sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes it's not.
Well, Steve, this has been a really great talk. This has been, despite you crushing my feelings and my emotions here occasionally.
You're still wrong.
I might be, but maybe I'm not. Who knows? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. And I think this is the point in which we'll truly decide if I can take your opinion seriously or not.
Okay.
This is the final question. What kind of pizza do you like?
Pepperoni and cheese.
Okay, I can trust your opinions. All right, we're fine. Okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah, but it needs ranch dipping sauce as well. So.
Oh, never mind. Whoa. Never mind. Pump those brakes. I can't trust you. It's podcast over.
It's okay.
Why are you putting ranch dressing on your pizza? Is your pizza broken?
I dipped the pizza in the ranch dressing.
Okay, why are you introducing ranch dressing into the pizza equation? What's wrong with your pizza that it needs ranch dressing?
What do you mean introducing? It was already there. It's part of it. It's like, some assembly required.
No. There was no one in Italy was like, you know what this needs? Weird, creamy nonsense sauce. Where's my Hidden Valley? No one ever did that.
Wait, no. Italian pizza? No, that's more like fluffy cake. No. Talking American pizza here.
American. Yeah, you dip your pizza in ranch in New York City, you're liable to get shot. I think that's how that works.
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't really know the whole I don't know gun etiquette. I'm from Canada. We stab our people here like civilized people. Okay.
Oh, you're right. That is how Canadians. I thought you would just compliment each other to death.
Maybe, but I don't know. Like Canadian compliments are more like veiled insults and threats.
Is that like
So-
kind of like this the southern version, like in Southern
Yes.
America, like the Bless Your Heart? You guys have that kind of thing?
Southern America is Brazil, I think you mean.
Well, no, like southern. No, that's South America. I
They
mean, like
speak-
Southern
yeah, they speak
United States.
Portuguese there.
Yes, Southern United States. You know what I meant.
Yes,
Come on.
yes. Bless your heart. Yes, exactly.
So, what's the Canadian
And,
version
like-
of Bless Your Heart?
Well, a lot of times, sorry. Well, while you're trying to elbow your way through a crowd or something, it's more like, why you little?
So your sorries are a Bless Your Heart in some ways, or sorry.
It's context dependent for sure. It's just an all around, useful phrase.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So next,
and I mean, it makes us look like we're very polite.
I mean, that is definitely my perception of the Canadians, is that you're very polite individuals. But now I'm starting to, this experience with you is starting to change that. I don't think that it's.
Oh,
the case anymore.
no, I'm a jerk. Yes.
Yeah. Man.
No, I'm not representative.
You've ruined Canada for me. I can't go to Canada anymore.
I ruined Canada in general. So.
I'm going to get that soundbite. We're going to put it all over the internet. Steve Demedash
Beautiful.
ruined Canada.
Thank you.
Well, all joking aside, I had a great time talking with you, ranch aside. And please tell people where they can find you on the internet and anything else you'd like to tell a whole bunch of people right now.
On the I see what you mean. Yeah, no. Instagram, my handle is Demedash Effects. My website is www.demedasheffects.com. I get a lot of mileage out of this name, Demedash Effects, as you can see. And that's about it. I mean, you can go on. I have a Facebook page, but I don't use it. People try to contact me there sometimes, and I'm like, no, my phone doesn't even let me respond to them. Kind of weird. Should have that looked at.
Yeah, you should probably figure that out. I mean, you might want to. People might want to buy a pedal or two.
I mean, yeah, several people are waiting to buy pedals from me, as it currently stands. So yeah.
And so people get on that waiting list at your website. Is that right? Or they got to email you?
There's a page on my website. They basically have to read through the entire page, right? The details on how to join the wait list and everything. And I just make sure people have read that because I want people to be aware of how long the wait time is. Currently about a year. When they contact me. So I have a few things they have to provide in terms of information. I list that stuff on the site. And if they don't provide that, I know they haven't read the site. So I tell them to go read the site. So, if you message me, you're like, oh, where can I buy a pedal? I'm just like, you should read the site. Get back to me if you're still interested, because you're not going to get one for a while.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I have a similar
I've got
if you try to join the Facebook group and you don't answer the questions, I'm not going to let you in. So if you've tried to join in the past and you didn't answer the questions and I deleted it, that's why. So you can join again, anyone who is listening to this and wondering why I didn't let you in. You didn't answer the questions. That's why.
Yeah. It's a good filter system.
It really is.
Primitive, but it works.
Keeps the riffraff out.
Yeah, we don't want any riffraff in there.
All right, Steve. Thanks. This has been great. And I hope you all have a good one. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, there you have it. Another one in the can. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and make sure you go check out all Steve's projects and stuff on the interwebs. It's really cool stuff. I really, really like it, and you've probably seen it around a time or two. And if you haven't, well, feast your ears and your eyes. It's going to be great. Also, do not forget about the Autism Rocks raffle going on that the Effects Loop is putting on. Again, the link is in the show notes for that. But make sure you get in there. We're going to try to raise some money for a great, great cause. And you might win some free gear. Or not free, but really cool gear. So slide over there, check it out. And you only got 7 more days. As of when this podcast episode is dropped, there's only 7 more days. So slide over and check it out. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.